Why is Russia betting billions on boats in 2025? In the middle of global sanctions and shifting alliances, Russia is quietly launching one of the boldest logistical strategies of the decade. Not with tanks, not with tech, but with rivers. These ancient waterways, once forgotten, are being transformed into the backbone of a new trade empire. From the heart of Siberia to the frozen Arctic, this is no ordinary upgrade. This story isn't just about geography, it's about power, politics, and a rising global pivot you probably haven't seen coming. Russia's inland vessels, once seen as relics of a bygone era, are now being reimagined as floating chess pieces in a global game of economic power. And at the center of it all, the mighty Irtysh. This is one of the world's longest rivers, but it's carrying more than just oil and lumber. It's now carrying geopolitical leverage. With sanctions cutting ties to the West, Moscow is placing a $6.2 billion bet on its river systems, hoping to revive their economy and reassert global influence using the geography they already own. Using rivers for national strategy isn't new for Russia. Since the Soviet era, inland waterways have connected the vast, rugged interior to the industrial core. These mega projects moved coal, timber, and steel across a country where trains couldn't reach, and they were seen as marvels of engineering and control. But in the 21st century, rivers took a back seat to Russia's extensive rail network, until now. As trade with China soars to record highs, Russia's primary eastern railways, like the Trans-Siberian and BAM, are overloaded. The Eastern Polygon, as it's called, is bursting at the seams. In response, the Kremlin launched a 3.7 trillion ruble modernization blitz. But rail can only scale so far. That's why river transport is making a comeback, not as a supplement, but as a strategic shift. Billions are now being poured into a new generation of river vessels, with generous subsidies and aggressive shipbuilding incentives. The goal? A seamless, multimodal transport network that can take pressure off the rails and move goods from inland Russia to the Arctic Ocean without ever touching Western-controlled ports. But to make this work, Russia will need more than just boats and blueprints. It'll need to rewrite the rules of international water politics. Russia's bold river strategy hinges on one crucial artery, the Irtysh. But here's the catch. It doesn't belong to Russia alone. This river winds through three nations, China, Kazakhstan, and Russia. Each one needs it. Each one wants more of it. And that makes the Irtysh less of a trade corridor and more of a diplomatic tightrope. Upstream, China diverts the Irtysh to fuel the explosive growth of Xinjiang, providing water for millions of residents and industries. In the middle, Kazakhstan leans heavily on the river to sustain nearly a third of its population and half its agriculture. And downstream, Russia is dreaming of turning it into a shipping highway. But shipping means dredging, regulating flow, and that threatens upstream supply and agricultural balance, sparking tensions that go beyond economics. Despite years of talks, there's no binding three-way agreement on managing the Irtysh. China remains hesitant to commit to shared control, especially when it holds the upstream advantage. Russia, caught in the middle, needs cooperation, but can't afford to look weak. For cities like Omsk, consistent water flow isn't just about trade, it's about survival. One drought, one unilateral diversion, and Russia's big river gamble could run aground. Water disputes aren't new, but combining them with military ambitions and geopolitical isolation, that's what makes the Irtysh one of the most underreported flashpoints of the modern map. But Russia's not backing off. In fact, this is only part one of the bigger plan, because the real wild card, the Arctic, is about to rewrite the rules of global trade again. While the world argues over sanctions and pipelines, Russia is quietly opening a third door, and it leads straight through the Arctic. The Northern Sea Route, once frozen and forgotten, is becoming navigable for longer each year. By the 2030s, it could be a year-round trade highway, slashing shipping times between Europe and Asia by nearly 40%. But there's a problem. You can't build global trade routes through the Arctic if you don't have anything to ship from inland. This is where Russia's rivers come full circle. The Kremlin's plan isn't just to build Arctic ports, it's to feed them. And the lifeblood will flow not from factories, but from rivers like the Irtysh and Ob. By turning cities like Novosibirsk and Omsk into inland logistics powerhouses, Russia wants to create a seamless supply chain from the heart of Siberia all the way to Shanghai. It's a strategy born of necessity, but built with ambition. Sanctions have forced Moscow to look inward, but in doing so, they've reawakened a geography-driven vision that may outlive the sanctions themselves. If successful, this could become a new global corridor, bypassing NATO waters, avoiding Western choke points, and creating a new trade map centered on the north. Russia's river gamble is risky, expensive, and full of geopolitical landmines, but it's also visionary. A reminder that in the 21st century, power isn't just about weapons or tech, it's about who controls the flow. Thanks for watching this deep dive into Russia's river revival and Arctic ambition. If you learned something new, drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and tell me in the comments, do you think Russia's geography is its secret weapon? Until next time, this is TubeGeo, where maps meet power.